Hi, everyone. Back again. I'm Candace.
And I'm Colette.
This is Hey Cuz. And so we created on the spur of the moment a mental health series. It is May. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. And at Hey Cuz, we decided that we want to tackle the tough issues. So we would be remiss if we let May pass, Mental Health Awareness pass, without talking about a subject that is, very difficult to talk about, but it's very significant. And that is the topic of suicide. Very serious subject, but it's important to get it out there. What do we think? What we used to think, why we thought it? Have we ever experienced suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts? So I'm going to start off with you. And, we don't have stats, we don't have research, we just have experiences and observations. So we're going to speak from our heart, speak from our experience, be completely transparent. What do you know about suicide? What did you used to think about it growing up or, in college, that sort of thing?
Growing up, just from a church standpoint and family standpoint, it was a lot of, that's a selfish thing to do to end your life. It's a selfish thing to do because, those that are left that have survived you are going to mourn that. They're going to feel pain. They're going to have to deal with it. You get the easy way out, and those that you leave behind are going to have to deal with that pain. So you should never think about that as an option. That's what I was taught. That's what I was told growing up.
What do you think about now?
Now, I have a strong sense of empathy for those who have suicidal ideation or they just took their actual life, because I've had my own journey with suicide ideation. And it gives me a lot of mercy for those who have those thoughts, because I know what it feels like. And I also know it's the grace of God that I'm even here. So I definitely do not see it as selfish or a sign of weakness. It's heartbreaking, because it's that person. People think that, okay, you commit suicide or thinking about committing suicide, that it's just this, oh, you know what, I'm tired of the day, I'm just gonna end my life. That's not it. This person was going through so much turmoil in their life that they thought the only way out was to end their life.
Yeah.
Person most likely exhausted all possible thinking through of how to make their situation better, that the only result they end up with was death. And I see it as an entire failure of society. Persons have resulted to that. Something was missed. Somebody dropped the ball.
Yeah.
Warning signs are there and it got missed.
Yeah. And that's an important thing that you bring up. And we learn this as healthcare providers. If someone brings it up, and sometimes it may sound like a joke, but you always take it seriously. So definitely something to take into consideration. But you did bring up that you have experienced suicidal thoughts. Tell us more about that and what triggered that, or how that went for you.
I have had two big instances where those thoughts were very overwhelming to the point I couldn't think of anything else. The first time I incurred that was doing one of my assignments, and I actually did call the suicide hotline in tears, couldn't even get words out. And I hung up after a while, just because like panic sort of came inside of me of like, oh my gosh, you called this line, they're probably gonna call the cops and ID your address and all that. And it made me hang up. But even after I hung up, what I did, I just felt like I just needed out. I felt very, very overwhelmed. And I couldn't deal. I was in complete isolation. I was away from family, friends. I was very depressed. I wasn't seeking out help from a counselor. I wasn't talking to people. I was letting my parents' phone calls go to voicemail. I was letting my friends' phone calls go to voicemail. I wasn't taking care of myself. And I just felt like I could be better if I just wasn't here. I wouldn't be letting down the people that are obviously trying to reach me. And I'm not contributing anything of substance to this world, so I don't need to be here. That was my exact thought. And I remember I threw my back out a couple of weeks prior to that, which was a whole nother conversation. I was too young to be doing that, but I did. So I had these huge prescribed ibuprofen pills, and this lovely bottle of wine because alcohol was my crutch. I laid out those pills right on that counter, and I had that bottle, and I just thought to myself, I should just take all these pills, drink this. I mean, I didn't look up any recipe of how to end my life. That was the thought that came to my mind, and I laid them all out. And I had that bottle, and I poured that drink. And my friend called, and I didn't answer because, my plan, I'm in the process of a plan here.
Mm-hmm.
And right before I'm getting ready to do this deed, I just prayed. I was like, listen, God, if you want me here, if there's anything that needs to be saved, you better let it be known right now, because it's about to be over. My friend that was trying to reach me, she just kept on calling back to back. And I was like, what in the world is going on? But I wasn't interested. She sent a text message, and it popped up on my phone. And the text message, I'll never forget it. It was like, please answer. I need to know that you're okay. You're breaking my heart. I need to know that you're okay. Please answer me, please. And the guilt of like, okay, she's saying like I'm breaking her heart. That was what made me go, let me call her back. Naturally, I know what I'm doing while I'm calling her back. So I'm in tears. And I'm explaining to her what just happened. And she's like in tears. And we just talked. So we just had a conversation. And that was what sort of made me go, okay, I need to throw these pills out, number one, get rid of this alcohol because it's too much going on here. She was also the very friend that called and set up my appointment for a therapist. So right in that moment, I prayed, and that was God's way of going, no, it's not over for you yet. So that was my first encounter with suicidal ideation, and it's no joke. Like that overwhelming feeling, like I said, I empathize with people that have those thoughts, because it really feels like there is no other way out. And I mean, almost to the point, I just felt like this was not voices, like I'm not hearing voices, but the thoughts are so strong, it takes over everything else. And that is how it was. I just need the thought gone. And I just need to stop thinking this. And the only way I can stop thinking is if the brain is just shut down. I need to just shut everything down. That's how it felt.
Yeah. Like we said before, I learn new things every day. I didn't know that, you've been through this, but I'm grateful for your friend. And I said in a previous video that it came into my spirit that when you don't show up, someone's life hangs in the balance. And that's what that means. Your friend was the one that showed up, but she felt that tug. And it was your life that was hanging in the balance. So I'm grateful that she listened to that pull in her spirit, because it was there for a reason. And that's why, I'm kind of shy. I don't like talking to people I don't know like that. But anytime like it pops up in my head to reach out to someone, I do, even though I'm comfortable, because you just don't know. You don't know. I joke that I've shoved a few of my coworkers into dark rooms before. They don't need to tell me what's going on, but it's like, just deal with it. It's like, I know something's not right. I'm not going to let you just keep going through the motions and working. I'm literally going to drag your chair into a room. And at least you know that someone cares. And if it's just you need to cry, cry. Because you just never know. You never know. So wow, yeah, it's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing. Those thoughts can be so strong, So that's real.
How about you? Have you had any thoughts of suicide ideation?
I mean, like you, growing up, I thought the same things about suicide that you did. I remember specifically, it was 7th grade, we had a debate on suicide. And I was on the side where I'm like, it's cowardly. it's a cop out, thou shalt not kill, suicide is murder, because that's what we were taught. And, you know, so that's really what I believed. And as I got older, going through all the things that I've been through, you know, having sickle cell, I have a very dark sense of humor. So I use humor as a way to tell the truth. Because if I say it with a straight face, because I tell people, I'm like, if I told you the story of my life, you wouldn't believe me. Like if I say it with a straight face, I don't know if I would be able to handle it. But I have been on the brink of death at least twice, 3 times. Like people thought I was gonna die. So in those moments, as a young adult, I have had moments in my life where I'm like, I get it. The suicide thing, I get it. And I would never judge anyone. You know, they have those shows and they say they glamorize and they put these ideas in the head. And I think that's a tricky thing. You don't want to glamorize it and you don't want to encourage it as an option. Not at all do I encourage that or anything, but I definitely understand it. Because I really was so hardcore that like, this is murder, that's wrong, that's a cop out, that's lazy, you're hurting your family. But it's so interesting how, you know, in the last episode, I talked about how I live my life for other people. But in suicide, it's like, even in your death, you're considering other people. And it's like, your life is not about anyone else. But like you said, it's unfortunate that for that person, they and like you said, it kind of sums up to a failure of their surroundings, that is their only option. Like it took a lot to get to that moment. And, you know, we always talk about our childhoods and things. And I was talking to some friends the other day and they're like, but, you know, we made it. And my response is always like, in spite of or because of or in spite of our circumstances. And sometimes I think it's in spite of, you know, we made it in spite of. But for me, even though some of those things growing up were toxic, I'm still here because of. They were toxic thoughts, but they're so, even though, you know, I'm not so religious anymore, and that's something I'm working through in therapy, but because it's so ingrained in me, it's a because of why I'm still here. Because I think subconsciously it's like, I can't kill myself. I've talked with my therapist about that a lot. She's like, do you want to die? And, you know, she asked me straight out, because it's her job, you have thoughts to kill yourself? And I was like, my answer is always, I would never kill myself. I have access to a lot of medication. If I wanted to kill myself, I would have been dead a long time ago. And trust me, I've been there. But it's only because of my upbringing why I'm still here. So the question, have I wanted to kill myself or will I kill myself? The answer is no. But do I want to die? I've always tell people, I'm like, I'm not afraid to die. I kind of welcome death. I've laid in a hospital bed many times praying to God to just let me go. And I feel like I live my life in a way, I'm like, you know, I've lived a good life. I've impacted people. I've done good. I have a legacy. I have books with my name on it. And I'm like, I could go. My family will get over it. Like there have been, I mean, I have been through emotional pain. I have been through physical pain that is indescribable. There are no words to put to it. And I literally have laid in the bed and just begged God to just end it. And, you know, it's like I'm living a life. You know, the times where it was difficult for me, probably before I was going to therapy, people ask why I'm here. You know, it's like, I don't know. I'm living life begrudgingly. Because they're like, well, you know, there's a purpose for your life. And it's like, yeah, I keep waking up, so it must be. So I'm living just because I won't die. I was existing. Like I'm living just because I won't die. It's like, you know, they say with the bugs, you hit them and they don't die. That's what I felt like. Like, why won't I just die? Like I literally asked God, I'm like, just let me go. So the whole suicide thing, I completely get it. I completely get it. You know, and that's still something I fight with because I've been through so much and I've talked to my, you know, therapist, I have my parents, and I'm like, it literally hurts to live. I am in pain, especially now, like in recently, you know, I was in pain every day. It's like, why do I want to be here? Why would I want to be here? There's no point. I'm like literally struggling just to exist. And so it's like, why question me or blame me for not wanting to? I'm like, if you were in my shoes, you wouldn't want to live this life either. And these are dark thoughts, but I think it's important to vocalize them because I know I'm not the only one who has them. So definitely suicide is something I take seriously, especially as a healthcare provider, because I've seen it. We've had patients come in and they say, you know, they're going to kill themselves. They joked about it. And you hear the next week at your next shift that they indeed did it. I've seen it. So it's definitely something to take very seriously. And it is by the grace of God that I'm still here. Because of those, whether, you know, good, bad, or ugly, that upbringing, it kind of, I guess I was afraid to kill myself because it's murder. I don't know. I don't know why, but I just always said I wouldn't do it. But I definitely welcome death. It's like I was summoning it. I was begging for it. I always tell people I'm not afraid to die. I'm not, because it's like, why, who would want to live this life? So that's something I definitely struggled with for sure. So that's something I definitely work with therapy, is finding my purpose, because that's a miserable existence. You're just waking up just to go through the motions. There was a lot of years where I was just going through the motions. I'm doing things because I have to. And some things I barely did. I wasn't, like you said, wasn't taking care of myself. I was sustaining barely. I would eat just enough, drink just enough. Wasn't cleaning, wasn't showering every day. And those are classic textbook signs of depression. You stop taking care of yourself. You stop caring. For someone like me, who people say I'm full of myself, one comb my hair, wearing the same clothes, t-shirt and shorts, the baggier, the better, sweatpants. I didn't want to feel the clothes on me. I just wanted to be comfortable. If I'm being forced to live this life, I'm gonna do the bare minimum just because I won't kill myself. I was doing the bare minimum to exist. So that's why it's important to find your purpose, because it's not enough just to exist. Because you'll find yourself just marinating in those thoughts, like you say. Just that's all you think about. And there was a period of time where that's all I thought about. You know, the times where, you know, there was one year I was in the hospital consecutively. I think that was the year that I did have that serious incident in the hospital where they thought that was it. I was in the hospital September, October, November, December. I had to drop out of nursing school for a semester. Like, it was the doctors, like, the nurses were like, I remember, you know, the nurse, she was joking, but I came up to the floor and it was just the first thing I guess she didn't think about it. She was like, I wasn't expecting to see you back. She said that. And I was like, I was like, wow. I mean, and none of that registered to me at the time. But it was just like, yeah, this is not a life worth living. And I felt that way for a very long time. So I would say that's suicidal in a way. Wishing death on yourself. I wasn't going to do it. But it was like, I wasn't necessarily willing myself to live either. So anybody who's out there, you know, what are some things that you would say to them, people who have these thoughts, and also to the people around them?
Definitely, if you're having these thoughts, get help. Whether you're calling the suicide hotline, whether you're calling your friend just to talk or cry over the phone, or family member for that matter.
Words aren't even necessary sometimes.
Whether or not you're walking straight into the hospital to say, hey, I need help. Do whatever you need to do to get that help and to get it immediately. Because when you're having thoughts like that, you don't necessarily have another 24 hours to see if it calms down. Unless you have another hour to see if it calms down. You want to get proactive on that. But more importantly, for those who you're around, or people that you have friends that might have experienced depression, clinically diagnosed with depression or anxiety or any other mental health illness, or they've attempted suicide, whatever the you know someone like that, be very proactive and intentional in their life. Don't be afraid to check on them. It is your duty to check up on them, because that one phone call, that one text message can be life-changing for them.
Absolutely, literally.
For me,
Yeah.
It's the grace of God that I'm here. You never know when you just pull them to the side and going, hey, how's your day? You know, and don't be afraid. Don't sit in the awkwardness if you have to. If that friend turns around and just bursts into tears, sit with that. It is okay. It's not your job to fix or to save. It's just your job to show up and to be there, be accessible.
That's the most important thing, is showing up. Like, emotions, I was not an emotional person most of my life. This is new to me. Crying, I did not, like, I can probably been years, I've gone a span of years without shedding a tear. So it is uncomfortable for me, but now it's still uncomfortable, but I will, if you want to bust out into tears, it's not about me. I just have to be uncomfortable because it's important. For me, I wish I knew there were resources, and I wish somebody had reached out to me. That's why, in spite of the awkwardness, I will sit there, because I know what it's like when you're in that and no one is there. So uncomfortable or not, I'm sitting it. And sometimes you just have to sacrifice that, because it's not about you, you know? Like, my friends make fun of me, like they hug from a distance and I pat their back I'm gonna pat their back like this. But it's like, look, if that's all I can do, I'm gonna do at least that. Because, you know, like we said, we know what it feels like. We know what the alternative feels like. And I couldn't imagine, like your friend, like if she had woken up that next day, knowing that she stopped calling. What if she didn't send a message? That feeling, that's something you don't want to feel. And that's one of my biggest fears. It's like feeling that tug of check on this person, text this person, reach out to the person. And I'm like, you know, I haven't spoken to this person in a long time. They don't want to hear from me. No, we're not that cool. And I didn't do it, and to wake up the next day and hear so-and-so is gone. That's a huge fear for me. And like I said, it dropped in my spirit that when you don't show up, somebody's life hangs in the balance. I say it all the time. That's a message to you guys out there. When you don't show up, it could be somebody's life. You just never know what it is, what's the breaking point. And the breaking point could be completely irrelevant, because they do say, and I think it's important, especially as a healthcare provider, I'm going to discuss the signs of depression, the signs of, you know, suicidal ideations, because they do say they do get that jolt just before. You might see they would have been depressed, and all of a sudden they're energized. It's because they decided. So those signs of depression, those deep depression, clinical depression, you can help me out with this. Lack of appetite, loss of interest in things that they once loved. You know, they isolate themselves from their family and friends. Lack of sexual drive is one. Just don't take care of themselves. The lack of hygiene, especially if there's someone, you know, like I said, for me, there was a point in my life where I was really into my dress and, you know, my hair. I got my hair 2 weeks on the dot. If you notice that person is just showing up, you know, just take notes of these things, because, you know, some people just don't know. But I want you to see this video, and if this is the first time you're hearing it, so be it. But I want you to know that these are, you know, some of the signs that are there. Signs of suicide is, you know, like I said, that jolt of energy, because that's usually when the person made that decision. That complete isolation, you know, because it's like, you don't know what that person's doing in that moment. You know, they're not answering the phone calls. If they say it, because there's people who will, they say it a lot of times, whether it's a joke, you know, a little, you know, dark joke, slick joke, a little ha, or I'm just kidding, or if it's dead serious. Oftentimes they will just say, I'm thinking about killing myself, or I'm going to kill myself, or something of that nature. We are trained. Always take that seriously. So I'm telling you, always take that seriously, because you just never know. And every city has a suicide hotline. Like Colette said, if that's what you're feeling, don't be ashamed. Pick up the phone before you pick up the pill or pick up the knife, pick up the drink or whatever it is. Pick up the phone, call a friend, but most importantly, call that hotline, because it's people who are trained to de-escalate those situations. So reach out for professional help, because that's free. I mean, everybody can't afford a therapist. Sometimes there's barriers, but if you're in that moment, call that suicide hotline.
Right.
Any more takeaways from you?
Just definitely if you can. I know it's hard. Some people, you know, they don't have close family or they don't have a trusted network of friends. But if you do, at the very least, try to have one person that is sort of like your check-in person. Whether it's a good day or a bad day, they're your checkup. They know how you move. They know, you know, okay, that Colette doesn't normally, you know, she might not answer today, but she'll always definitely answer the next day. So they know your patterns, they know your movements. So they know if by the third day Colette doesn't answer, something's up, because she never misses 2 days in a row. Something along those lines. They know your habits. They're not afraid to have wellness checks. I have a friend who threatens me all the time. I love her dearly though. And she's like, if you don't answer my messages, I just need to know that you're okay. If you don't answer, she has my address. Anytime I move, that's the one thing she asks for is my address, apartment number, phone number, all that. She is not afraid to call and have a wellness check on me.
You need that person, because I made a system, because like I said, sometimes they don't want to talk about it, and it's also not my business. So I do a scale. I have some friends, I'm like, I don't need to know, scale of 1 to 10, where we at? And that's the system. Scale of, if you're not ready to talk about it, at least we know scale of 1 to 10, where we at. And if the number's getting low, it's going to be frequent check-ins. But also you need to have that person that you trust, that when they ask you, you will tell the truth. Exactly. Because there's people, they ask me, am I okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But I do have those friends that now, and it took me a lot of work, if they ask me, I know they mean it. So I'm going to tell them the truth. But
and they know well enough that if you do lie and say,
right,
fine, they can see through that line and go, no, you're not.
Right.
That's important.
So that accountability circle, friend circle, whatever you want to call it, it's very important. So for the people who are going through, stay encouraged. Like we said with the affirmations, you are worthy. These are not just loose things to say. You are important. You have purpose. And if you don't believe it, just keep repeating it till you do. Because sometimes, you know, you got to do what you got to do. And for the people around them, have the confidence and the courage to show up, to keep reaching out. This is so important. So I know this was tough, but it was necessary, and that's what we're here for. This was Hey Cuz. Mental health awareness, remove the stigma, remove the taboo. We love you.
Stick around. Love you.
Take care.